Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. 97% of scientists that we pay to say the climate is changing are all in unanimous agreement that what we told them to say is what they're saying. However, there are still some people out there that insist on doing independent research and coming up with their own conclusions. We can't stop them doing that. We can keep them off the mainstream media. We do that whenever we can. However, unfortunately, sometimes one or two people that actually are independent, free thinkers and not afraid to speak their mind or tell the truth find their way onto mainstream media. In this case, we are forced, unfortunately, to let them talk. We do try and talk over them, obviously, but occasionally they might be slightly more senior than ourselves and have much more knowledge than ourselves. I mean, that does happen fairly regularly, to be honest. And on those occasions, such things can happen as when the truth slips out there. Here at CNN, everyone would like to apologize for that, and we would like you to view the following footage with all this in mind. Thank you very much. My name is not David.
I resent you calling me a denier. That is a word meant to put me down. I'm a skeptic about climate change, and I want to make it darn clear, Mr. Kenny's not a scientist. I am. He's the CEO of the Weather Channel now. I was the founder of the Weather Channel, not the co-founder.
And I'm glad you did, because I am addicted to the Weather Channel. I watch a lot of cable news.
Now, hold on just a minute. I'm not done.
That was my first clue that I was going to really like this guy being interviewed. And he was just like, wait a minute, I haven't said anything yet. Oh, thank you very much. We all appreciated that. I'm going to spew propaganda now. Hang on a second. Hang on a goddamn minute. Let me say what I wanted to say.
And CNN has taken a very strong position on global warming that it is a consensus. Well, there is no consensus in science. Science isn't a vote. Science is about facts. And if you get down to the hard, cold facts, there's no question about it. Climate change is not happening. There is no significant man-made global warming now. There hasn't been any in the past, and there's no reason to expect any in the future. There's a whole lot of baloney, and yes, it has become a big political point of the Democratic Party and part of their platform, and I regret it's become political instead of scientific, but the science is on my side.
I don't think we're going to come to a conclusion about the topic right here.
Well, let's not talk about science then. If you know more than me, let's just agree that nobody knows what's going on, and then I'll start to tell you what's going on. I don't know why I sound like Pinocchio. This is usually my impression of Elizabeth Warren.
What I do wonder,
though,
is when you see
because you wouldn't allow it to happen on CNN. But I'm happy that I got on the air and got a chance to talk to your viewers. Hello, everybody. There is no global warming.
What I do wonder is when you...
Oh, what a fucking hero. Hello, everyone. There is no global warming. Oh, I'm just going to cut you off there and imply that there is, with no scientific basis behind me. Do you mind?
See the government, when you see NASA, when you see other institutions say that 97% of climate scientists agree, do you think they're making it up? What I don't understand is how you square that.
Well, that's a manipulated figure, and let me explain it to you. The government puts out about $2.5 billion directly for climate research every year. It only gives that money to scientists who will produce scientific results that support the global warming hypothesis of the Democrat Party position. So they don't have any choice. If you're going to get the money, you got to support their position. Therefore, 97% of the scientific reports published support global warming. Why? Because those are the ones the government pays for, and that's where the money is.
Hello, is that Sweden? Hi, yes, this is the director of CNN. I'm gonna need a girl with pigtails and rosy cheeks as soon as you can. Preferably one that slags off her parents and is able to get kids out of school. I'm going to need that as soon as you can. I've got a major crisis on my hands. I've got someone on the television that is telling the truth about global warming. Can you text me back? My number is 0800.
It's real simple, but that doesn't mean it's right. That doesn't make it true. That only makes it bought and paid for. The money goes in circles.
I'm not a scientist, so I'm not going to try to refute you
Boy,
on the
that's
facts.
the truth.
I am not a scientist. Well, that's the truth. Oh, I wonder why they don't let this guy on television much. Oh.
I'll
And
simply
so
say that the
please
vast
stand
majority...
back from this issue and let the two sides be on the air. There are 31,000 scientists who have signed a petition that says it is not valid, that my position is correct, and we'll keep battling, and we will prevail in time.
Okay, I think it's important to always check out both sides of the story. So, if we're going to do a video here on climate change, well, we've heard from the recognized scientists talking about 31,000 scientists signing a petition to say, hey, no one's listening to us, but we don't think global warming is real at all. So it's only fair to hear from the activists and the people chosen to speak from the other side. So school's out. It's time to check out the people on the other side of the debate. Can't wait to see who they roll.
This Monday, world leaders are going to be gathered here in New York City for the United Nations Climate Action Summit. The eyes of the world will be on them. They have a chance to prove that they, too, are united behind the science. They have a chance to take leadership, to prove they actually hear us. Do you think they hear us?
I'm not exactly sure. What is it that you've said? That we need to unite behind the science. Okay, which science? All the science that says that global warming isn't actually something that we need to worry about, that the weather is cyclical and the earth actually used to be a lot hotter if you drill down into the ice, and that all this is sort of made up for political gain. Should we rally behind those scientists, or the ones that your side pay to say that global warming is real? The same people that have all their money in things like carbon taxes and that sort of thing. We should listen to those people? Is that what you're saying?
We will make them hear us.
Have you seen everyone on the big screen holding up their giant, massive iPhones? Solve climate change! Woo! Selfie.
We have not taken to the streets, sacrificing our education for the adults and politicians to take selfies with us and tell us that they really, really admire what we do.
Right, that's it. Stop fucking bullshitting me. You guys are all 15, 16, 14. We're sacrificing our education. You're skipping out of school and you fucking know it. There isn't a single person in that fucking gathering going, oh, I'm sacrificing my education. They're all going, we ain't in school. I was 16 myself at one point, young lady. I remember what it was like. If I was in your position, I wouldn't have been like, I'm sacrificing my education. I'm like, these fucking idiot adults are letting us out of school. And all we have to do is moan about the weather. I'm taking my massive iPhone. Hey, Mum, make sure you pick me up in the 4x4 after the protest is over. I want to go home and eat popcorn covered in spray-on cheese.
We are doing this to wake the leaders up. We are doing this to get them to act. We deserve a safe future.
If you really care about having a safe future, wouldn't you let adults and scientists solve this problem instead of just getting a huge amount of school children together and asking them what they think they should do? Hey, you want to skip school and yell? Yeah. Okay, you're in charge of climate change. Great. Does that sound like something that the people that run the world would do if this was a serious problem? Or do you feel you might be used for political gain? This is what they're doing. They're wheeling you guys out there to go, we're upset and we hate our parents. And they're using that as a political to look how upset the young people are. You better agree with us. Have you actually looked into it? How many of you guys have actually looked into it? How many of you guys have heard the science from the other side, sat down and really studied this for more than a day? How many of you? Is it zero? Why aren't you in China? They're the biggest polluter. Why aren't you? Go over to China, Greta. Go over there, see what happens. See if they sit. Go on, please. Here, have a football stadium full of our people. Tell them that they're all pieces of shit. We can't wait to hear. Please. No, they wouldn't even let you in and you know it. And they're the biggest polluters. What are you going to do about that? You're not going to do anything about that, are you? You know, because you like them iPhones, don't you? You know where they come from? Do you know who makes them? Uh-huh.
And we demand a safe future. Is that really too much to ask? We are not just some young people skipping school or some adults who are not going to work. We are a wave of change.
What are you proposing? What are you suggesting that we do? Apart from the fact that you're upset and the world's going to end and cows shouldn't be allowed in fields, what are you actually proposing? How are you intending to solve this issue? By skipping school? We're not just kids skipping school. Then what are you doing? Because you're definitely kids skipping school, and I don't see you actually... If you were all out there working on like some sort of machine that was going to save the climate, I'd be like, you know what, fair enough. But you're not. You're literally just skipping school. You're skipping school and you're just going, woo! Adults better do what we say. Woo! What shall we do? I don't know. I'm just I don't like adults, and neither do these kids that are skipping school, but that's not what...
Together and united, we are unstoppable. We will rise to the challenge. We will hold those who are the most responsible for this crisis accountable.
Oh yeah, you don't sound like a scary authoritarian at all. We will hold the people responsible for this crisis accountable. This crisis being the weather, is that right? I will find who is responsible for rain, and I will crush them under my authoritarian fist. I am 16 years old. Who's with me? Everyone that wants to skip school. Great, that's a consensus. Let's go. Ignore the scientists that say I'm full of shit. I'm 16. I'm going to ride a unicorn to victory. Let's go. There's only 15 genders.
And we will make the world leaders act. We can and we will. And if you belong to that small group of people who feel threatened by us, then we have some very bad news for you.
They're cheering bad news. They don't even know what she's going to say. They're cheering. She's like, I have bad news. Yeah, give us the bad news. You're being brainwashed, guys. It's hard to feel upset for you because you're 16 years old, but you're being brainwashed. Can't you see that? You're cheering bad news. We're going to get mad. Yeah, tell us why.
Because this is only the beginning.
Okay, it's only the beginning. I got it. Listen, if you're part of the small group of maniacs that's brainwashing everyone, I got some bad news for you. The internet exists, and we're not just going to sit there and listen to your bullshit. We're going to check out both sides of the story. I got some double bad news for you. There are some people that are not afraid of you at all. Okay? And some of them have actually done the research, and some of them have thought about this critically, and they are not 16 years old, and we're about to let one of them talk. Okay? Strap in.
Yeah, I got a few, Bob, yeah.
Okay, you support Trump? You do?
Yep.
Okay.
I was one of the first endorsers, public endorsers of President Trump.
What are you guys going to do when our ocean level rises?
Thank you for asking that question. I have the answer.
No, let me finish.
I have the answer.
Let me finish.
Thank you for the question. Yeah. Okay.
For the first time on Earth, we're changing the gas.
Now you're full of shit. Sit down. I'm going to answer you. I'm going to answer. Just
Dad.
shut up and shut up and sit down.
No way.
Sit down.
No. I got to finish my question.
I'm going to answer global warming.
All right, finish the question,
our
then
gas
answer.
Is changing on Earth, and it's changing to CO2. What do you people with the money, what are you doing about this? Because
I'm going to tell you right now.
Children. No, I've got children. I've got 21, 23-year-old children. And what's their future with you people with money? You talk about money all of the time.
Okay. Sit down, please. Sit down, please.
What
In
are
the
you
front
doing
row.
about
Excuse me.
Earth?
In the front row. Please
About
sit down.
Earth?
Okay, you've asked your question. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Can you
I'm
answer?
going to answer.
Excuse me, ma'am. Will you please sit down?
And
Please.
Thank you.
That's okay. Please sit down. Let him answer.
okay. In 2011, my wife and I were in Antarctica, renewing our vows. For most of you that don't know, Antarctica's on a mountaintop. Okay? And there is a $500 million facility, scientific facility there, and the scientists came to give us presentations about global warming. And they had cores of ice that they had drilled. They had drilled 4,000 or 5,000 cores, and they only brought 15 or 20. So they're going through the second or third core, and they said 275,000 years ago, this was the temperature, blah, 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 blah. And then 55,000 years ago, the world was 2 degrees warmer Celsius than it is today. This is 2011. And, oh, wait, stop. And he said, and I said, well, you mean the whole world? He says, yes. And the polls are only benchmarks. And I said, well, what about the things that the young woman alluded to? Okay? And he said, it's all cyclical. And although the gas may have exacerbated it, in the cosmos of time, it's not a fart in the wind. In the cosmos of time, of the 13.8 billion years that we've been on this miserable planet, it's not a fart in the wind. And as I told Joe Rogan on his show, and he said in his infinite wisdom, and Joe, if you hear this, I thank you for the opportunity to be on your show. He said, then in 25,000 years, it's most likely not going to be a problem. Now, my direct answer to your question, if that were really true, which you believe, and let's just for a moment say that it is true, that means that the best scenario vis-a-vis global warming is about 10 feet raise in water. That's the best scenario over the next 40, 50 years. That's the best scenario. The worst scenario is about 100 feet. But let's just take the 10 feet. If the water on the planet is going to rise up 10 feet, that means the southern part of the United States is gone. England is gone. Most of Europe is gone. And I can go, most of Central America is gone. Okay. If that's the case, let's just take Florida, for example, which is one of the fastest growing beachfront condominiums on the planet. In the prospectus, when you invest, there should be, in the footnotes, if global warming is for real, they won't put it that way, global warming happens and water rises 10 feet, this investment you made is fuck all. Not one single investment prospectus written since 2000, this century, has alluded to global warming. Not one motherfucker. If it were really true, the banks wouldn't invest. The banks wouldn't finance. Not one motherfucking condominium. So the people that have the money, and I'm jealous of the Vice President, Gore, which Sally and I rode on a plane from South America with a few years ago. I am jealous he came up with a scam before I did. Because the financial institutions, the banks of this world know it's not going to happen. Otherwise, you couldn't get a goddamn loan in London. You know those 30, 40-year mortgages? The world will be over by then. Is Barclays Bank going to give you a motherfucking loan? With the greatest respect, ma'am, it's the greatest fraud that's been perpetrated on mankind this century.
Who did you find more convincing? Greta? Or the guy that gave you loads of practical, observable facts and evidence on why this thing might be a giant hoax? If this thing was real, they wouldn't lend you money to buy a fucking house by the beach. They wouldn't. Do you remember Al Gore? Do you remember back when he was telling you that polar bears were going to be extinct by 2012 or whatever? The polar bear numbers are rocketing up. He's like, well, I don't know what we're going to do about polar bears. There's literally like polar bears walking down the high street now, sort of surfing down on a giant block of ice. There's polar bears everywhere. All right, Al Gore made a ton of money off this climate change thing. What a fucking surprise. It's starting to not look like a black and white issue, isn't it?
When I was first approached with the idea of making the slideshow into a movie, I thought it was a terrible idea. I didn't think a slideshow could be made into a movie. But there are some talented people in Hollywood who know what they're doing, and I'm so glad that they talked me into letting them make the movie, and I think they did a good job. I'm a little biased, but I think they did a great job.
So let me get this straight. You came up with this slideshow about that could save the Earth, and when someone came over to you and said, we want to make this into a movie, you had to be talked into it because you didn't think it would make you look good? Listen, guys, I want to save the ice caps, but I don't really want my sideshow to be made into a movie. It's not going to come across well for me to politically. So I guess the polar bears are just on their own. But then, look, they said, listen, Al, this is the amount of money you could make. And I was like, you know what? I'm Team Polar Bear again. Great start.
Do you know if George Bush has seen it yet, or has he that one?
He said that he would not see it, but that's why I wrote the book.
Let's say you could lend his ear for a minute.
Yeah.
How would you describe to him the essence of the climate crisis, as you called it?
Well, I have asked for the chance to present the slideshow or to bring the message in whatever way he would hear it. And I would start by saying that this is far beyond politics. It's not a political issue at all. It's really a moral issue because it has to do with our responsibility to our children and our grandchildren and all who come after us.
Oh, I see. This is not a political issue at all. This is as simple as if you like children and you don't want bad things to happen to children, you have to agree with me, do what I say, and give me a lot of your money. We don't need to get into the ifs and the whys and the buts and the candy and the nuts about whether what I'm saying is factually true or backed up by science. But just do what I say or you hate children. Have I made myself clear?
And we have multiplied by 4 times the population of our planet in less than 100 years. And population is stabilizing of its own accord, but we are now in a very different relationship to the planet. And even more important than the growth in our numbers is that the technologies we use now are thousands of times more powerful than the ones our grandparents had available to them. And we are now capable of really doing incredible damage unless we're very careful.
Who's we? Who's we? Do you know how much damage I've done to the atmosphere? 0. I've never fucked with a polar bear. I've never messed around with a turtle. I've never jabbed a straw into its windpipe. I've never even fucked up a salmon. Right? I'm minding my own business. I live in Surrey. Like, there's plastic in the ocean. I didn't fucking put it there. I live in Surrey. I've never thrown any plastic in the ocean. I've never put any toxic waste in the ocean. I've never cut down a rainforest. It's all you fucking rich people that have been doing it, or non-stop, making huge amounts of money over it. Now you're saying, listen, it looks like we fucked up the earth massively. Here's Prince Harry to get off a public jet to tell you to start using wooden cutlery and stop going on holiday. And by the way, stop looking at Amsterdam. You're ruining it, you fucking peasant.
To the biosphere of the earth, the ecological system of the earth. And the most vulnerable part of it is the atmosphere. It's very small, actually. It's an illusion to think the sky is so limitless and big.
You heard it here first. Do you think the sky is big, you fucking idiot? You ever listen to Al Gore do a slideshow that they turned into a movie because they gave him money? The sky isn't big, man. The sky's tiny. You can fit the sky right in your jacket pocket. Okay? You need to be seriously concerned about the sky and the atmosphere. It's tiny. It's really small and you're stepping on it. Okay? Listen, just start eating with a wooden spoon and the atmosphere is going to be fine. All the toxic waste is going to fly out of the ocean. All the plastic that corporations dumped in there is just going to start zipping out and gravitating towards the moon. Okay, all you have to do is start having a really terrible standard of living and living in a sewage pipe. Am I clear?
It's actually, it's only a few kilometers to the top of the sky. And the engines of our civilization are now filling that small space with global warming pollution, principally CO2. And we're putting 70 million tons every day into it as if it were an open sewer. And the responsibility we have to one another, and as I said, most of all to our children and grandchildren, should lead us to urgently change the way we are pursuing our economic activity. And the good news is we can become much more efficient and competitive and productive and raise our standards of living in the right way as we cut down on all this pollution.
Hey Al, what do plants breathe? What do plants use to produce oxygen on the earth? Do you know? Do you know which is it CO2, Al? Do plants use CO2? Is that true? You know all these rainforests that you guys keep cutting down and setting fire to and all this nonsense? Seems like they could do with some CO2 in the atmosphere. Is there enough for the plants? Does anyone know about this? It's acting like CO2 is just pure poison. If there wasn't any CO2 out there, all the plants would be dead and so would we. Have I made that up or is that true? Text in.
But if you were now to tell this to George Bush or any of your opponents, do you think they would regard you as one of those guys, you know, on a New York street with a sign saying the end is near?
Yeah. Sometimes I feel as if that's the way some people see me. I remember back during the days of the nuclear arms race, there were all kinds of cartoons of men with long white beards carrying signs, "The world is about to end." And I never thought that I would be seen in any way like that.
Oh, yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. You did a giant slideshow telling everyone that California was going to be underwater, Greenland was going to be underwater, everything was going to be underwater, and it was round about now that a lot of things that you said were going to happen should have happened by now, but they haven't happened. So, ha ha ha, tee hee hee. Oh, I can't believe people think of me like that. Yeah, you can. And you know why? Because it's exactly what you're doing.
And I don't believe that. I think that I'm very hopeful and optimistic, but my optimism is based on the assumption that enough people will hear the truth of what our situation is and will decide to make changes and to act.
And you get support from the IPCC report for the UN.
Yes.
But also, you go even further. Some would say you paint an even darker picture than this report does.
You know, I think that the view that I present is based on the best science available.
The best science available to support your argument. Yeah, the best science available that you guys are essentially paying for to back up the wild claims that you're making that have mostly been proven to be horseshit already. Yeah. Yeah, you pay a bunch of scientists some money to say this or find a way to say this or support this argument. Yeah, they're going to do that.
And there are scientists, very respected scientists. James Lovelock is one who comes to mind, who have a much darker view than do I. There are some who believe that there's no way we'll respond in time. I'm convinced that we will respond in time.
Also, there are scientists on the other side. Most scientists would agree that this is...
Do you hear that? Al Gore goes, not really. Listen, I just told you the world's going to end and everything's going to be underwater like Kevin Costner's Waterworld. There are some scientists that disagree with you. Oh, shut up, idiot. I'm friends with Hillary Clinton. Do you want to fucking die?
This is man-made to some extent. But there are scientists that...
Not to some extent. First of all, you said the IPCC. Some people may not know that is the international group called the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. And it's made up of thousands of scientists who are the very best experts in their respective fields. And
but they disagree to some extent.
No, they were unanimous. They were unanimous.
Yes, on the IPCC report.
Yes, and
but some would disagree with you.
Yes, but the mainstream consensus is so strong. It's rare to have a consensus as strong as this one. And when the world's I'm sorry.
Sorry. Do you find it hard to choose which scientists to listen to?
No, the scientists that agree with me, we listen to them and we give them the money that we'd said we'd give them if they agree with me. The scientists that don't agree with me, when someone brings them up, I just shake my head and I go, not really, and then I talk over them and I go, listen, we put a nice label on the ones that do agree with me. We call it the ICW, fuck you, give me all your money, and that's the organization that is officially funded, and that's the one we listen to. We ignore everyone else. If that doesn't work, we roll out a girl with pigtails, we let all the kids off school, and that's basically it.
I mean, whom to trust?
The scientific process has a way of identifying among the scientists themselves who they feel are the most respected experts in each field.
My name is Jamie Margolin, and I'm a 17-year-old climate justice activist from Seattle, Washington.
Okay, guys, that's the end of part one. I can't put this all in one video. There's too much out there. Part two of this video will feature that lady and her friends testifying to the United States government about what 15, 16, 17-year-olds think the government should do, and the government are going to listen to them, and then presumably just start following through on it because, you know, these guys aren't in school, and that means something. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for supporting the channel, all the guys that support me on Subscribestar. I really appreciate it. Obviously, this video will be instantly deranked and demonetized. Thank you for supporting my voice. Thank you for keeping me alive. And of course, go fuck yourselves. That's the end of the video again. The video's ending in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ending now. It's the end of the fucking video, man. Go fuck yourselves.